Have you ever felt like you're constantly giving, constantly showing up for others, only to find that it never feels like enough? Maybe you're the friend everyone calls when they need advice, or the one who always responds within seconds, even when you're drained. You show up, you give, and you give, but does anyone ever truly appreciate it? Now, imagine this. What if you stopped showing up? What if, instead of always being there for everyone else, you withdrew, even just for a little while? How would people react? Would they suddenly start to notice you in a way they never did before? In this world where everyone is shouting for attention, there's a different kind of power in disappearing. And it's not about revenge or punishing others, it's about reclaiming something that's rightfully yours, your own peace, your own power, and your own time. This is the life-changing lesson that Machiavelli understood. In a world where we're all trained to respond to every need, every message, every call, he saw something deeper. He saw that when you learn the art of withdrawal, no one and nothing can hurt you anymore. Let's start with something personal. Think about the last time you were always available. Maybe it was for a friend who constantly needed reassurance, a family member who drained your energy with every conversation, or even a colleague who expected you to drop everything for them. How did it feel? If you're being honest, you probably felt exhausted. But here's the thing, you weren't just giving your time. You were giving away your power. You see, there's something almost eerie about the people who don't need to explain themselves, who don't feel the need to justify their absence. They walk into a room, and without saying a word, everyone notices. Not because they've done anything loud or dramatic, but because their absence creates a void that others can't ignore. Machiavelli understood this deeply. He said, "A prince must know how to disappear without losing his influence." When you disappear, when you choose to withhold your presence and your energy, you become something far more valuable than just a constant fixture in people's lives. You become a rare asset. You become someone who isn't defined by their availability. Now, think back to those moments when you've been drained by people who always demand your time. How much of that was your choice? How much of it was you simply following the pattern of constantly being there for them because you felt you had to? What if you stopped doing that? What if, instead of responding immediately to every call or message, you allowed silence to stretch between you and the world? What would change? The moment you withdraw, you force people to question their assumptions about you. It's not about cutting them off, it's about making them realize that your time, your presence, is a privilege, not a right. And in that silence, they begin to fear losing their grip on you. They don't miss you because they love you, they miss you because they've lost access to what they thought was guaranteed. And here's the most powerful part. This is when you begin to reclaim your own power. Because when people can no longer predict you, when they no longer know when you'll show up or when you'll disappear, they start to respect you more. You stop being a convenience and start becoming someone they must think twice about before they demand anything from. Now, let me ask you a question. What does being nice really cost you? You may think that by being constantly available, by saying yes to every request, you're building relationships and showing that you care. But let's face it, what you're really doing is making yourself predictable, and as Machiavelli would say, predictability is the death of respect. Think about this. When you're always there, always responding, always showing up on cue, you might feel like you're being helpful or loyal. But in reality, you're simply training others to take you for granted. You're becoming background noise. People may tell you they appreciate you, that they need you, but here's the truth. People don't fear losing your love. They fear losing their control over you. And you don't need me to tell you how easy it is to fall into this trap. You answer the phone at 2 a.m. because someone is upset. You cancel your plans to make someone else feel better. You sacrifice your own time, your own energy, just to keep the peace. But let's pause here. How does that make you feel? Exhausted? Used? Maybe even resentful? You're not alone. This is the trap that Machiavelli warned us about. The more you show up for others, the more they expect it. And the moment you're not there when they expect you to be, they begin to question your loyalty, your commitment, and your value. But here's the good news: you have the power to stop this. You have the power to say no without guilt, to withdraw when you need to, and to reclaim your own sense of worth. And that's where real power starts to emerge. Instead of rushing to explain yourself, instead of bending over backwards to prove your loyalty, take a step back. Let silence fill the space. Make them wonder what they lost. Think back to the last time you were emotionally drained. It may not have been from physical exertion, but from the constant demands on your energy. A text here, an email there, a phone call at the wrong time, each one pulling on you like a weight you didn't even realize you were carrying. The truth is, most of us don't even realize we're giving our energy away until it's too late. Every conversation, every request, every emotional need that you meet for someone else, costs you something, and here's where Machiavelli's wisdom shines. He understood that your energy is a limited resource, and when it's spent on frivolous battles or endless requests, you're left with nothing when it really matters. He would tell you, stop wasting your power on the small things. How often do you find yourself in pointless debates or emotional exchanges that leave you feeling depleted, yet you've gained nothing from them? It's easy to fall into the trap of reacting to every situation, of feeling the need to defend yourself, explain your actions, or solve every problem for everyone around you. But Machiavelli warned against this, that he believed that the man who wastes his energy on trivial matters is setting himself up for failure when the real battles come. Your emotional energy is not infinite. Every thought, every feeling, every reaction is a deposit in your personal energy bank. But when you're constantly reacting to others, constantly trying to make things better for them, you're depleting your resources without even realizing it. You might think you're being noble, but what you're actually doing is surrendering your personal power. Why should you give away your energy to those who don't deserve it? Why should you waste your time on people or situations that drain you, leaving you empty, exhausted, and resentful, instead of responding to every demand, every cry for attention, or every emotional fire someone else has started? Machiavelli would advise you to reserve your energy for the things that truly matter. When you stop reacting to every small thing, you stop being a puppet to everyone else's needs. You regain control of your own energy, your own space. This is how you start to wield power. Not by responding, not by reacting, but by conserving. When you conserve your energy, you become unpredictable, unreadable, and most importantly, you become ungovernable. The next time someone demands your reaction or your attention, pause. Ask yourself, does this person or situation deserve my energy, or is this just another trap to drain me? Remember, you don't need to defend yourself against every attack. Withholding your response is not weakness, it's strategic. Silence is not cowardice. It's not a retreat. It's power in its purest form. In today's world, where everyone feels the need to comment on everything, to speak up at every opportunity, silence has become a weapon. And Machiavelli understood this better than most. He wrote, "The wise man does not need to lie, he only needs to withhold." In a world where everyone is shouting to be heard, the man who says nothing becomes a threat. When you go silent, you disrupt the pattern. You remove yourself from the noise, from the chaos, and you force others to deal with their own discomfort. You stop being predictable. You stop being a part of their game. But here's the catch: people will not understand your silence immediately. They will misinterpret it. They will think you've changed. They might call you cold, distant, or even arrogant. But here's the secret: they don't actually miss you. They miss their ability to control you, to rely on you. They miss the version of you that was always available, always predictable. Machiavelli would tell you that when you withdraw, it's not a sign of weakness. It's a signal to others that you are not their puppet. You are not a servant to their needs, to their expectations, or to their emotional volatility. You've taken your power back, and they are forced to face the reality of their dependency on you, and that is when the mask begins to fall. When you stop playing along, when you stop explaining yourself, people are forced to confront who they thought you were, who they relied on. But in the silence, they'll realize the truth: they were never respecting you. They were respecting their own ability to manipulate you. We've all been there. The long-winded explanations, the endless justifications for our actions, the apologizing for setting boundaries or wanting some peace. You know that feeling when you feel compelled to explain yourself even when you don't owe anyone an explanation? It's exhausting, right? Machiavelli would tell you to stop. That he knew that a man who constantly feels the need to explain himself is a man who has lost control. Every time you justify your actions, every time you apologize for taking care of yourself, you're handing over your authority. You're allowing others to dictate your narrative. You're telling them that they have the right to judge you, to question you, and to make you feel small. But here's the truth: you don't owe anyone an explanation. Your life, your decisions, your boundaries, they are yours alone to command. You don't need permission to live on your own terms. When you stop explaining yourself to others, when you stop seeking validation from anyone, you start to reclaim your sovereignty. You can be clear about who you are and what you will tolerate. You can stop being a convenience to others and start being a man who is respected for his strength and clarity. So, the next time you feel pressured to explain yourself, stop. Take a breath. You don't owe anyone your explanations. You owe yourself peace. How does that feel? To think about your life not as something you need to justify, but as something you command? To realize that your presence, your energy, and your time are yours to decide who gets access to? This is just the beginning. Machiavelli's teachings are not about cruelty or manipulation, they are about regaining the strength to live on your own terms. And when you do that, nothing and no one can hurt you anymore. There's a pain that few men talk about. It's not the pain of failure, betrayal, or loss. It's the pain that comes when you start to withdraw from the world around you, when you stop answering every call, when you stop showing up on command, when you finally start to protect your peace. Study first. This pain feels like freedom. You feel lighter, unburdened, as if a weight has been lifted from your shoulders. But soon after, something shifts. Doubt begins to creep in. Did you go too far? Did you push people away? Did you abandon relationships that you could have salvaged? Maybe you wonder, what have I lost? You begin to feel lonely, empty. The silence is deafening, and the absence of constant demands leaves you questioning yourself. But here's what Machiavelli would say: this is not the pain of losing people. It's the pain of losing the version of yourself that needed their validation. The version of you that lived for the approval of others, that lived to be needed, that showed up only because you feared what would happen if you didn't. What you're experiencing isn't loneliness, it's detox. It's the death of the old you, the part of you that was addicted to being needed, addicted to external validation. The rebirth that comes from this withdrawal is powerful. When the obedient version of you dies, the sovereign one can emerge. Machiavelli knew this process well. He would tell you that power is not born in applause or comfort. It's born in isolation. And isolation doesn't mean punishment, it means purification. It means clearing away the noise, the distractions, and the expectations so that you can finally hear your own voice. Yes, it will hurt. Yes, it will feel unnatural. But every transformation is uncomfortable. Just like a lion isn't born in a crowd, neither are you. You weren't meant to be part of the herd. You were meant to stand alone when necessary, to roar not for approval but because you finally remembered your own power. There's a difference between being seen and being remembered. There's a difference between being available and being valued. And yet, most men confuse the two. We live in a world where attention is the currency, where being present in every moment seems like the key to building influence. But in truth, attention is not influence. Machiavelli understood this fundamental truth. What is always available loses its value. The man who is constantly seen, constantly in the spotlight, becomes predictable and, eventually, forgettable. But the man who controls when he appears, when he speaks, and when he disappears, becomes unforgettable. Think about it for a moment. When you're always around, always responding, always available, people begin to take you for granted. They expect your presence, your time, your energy, without ever truly appreciating it. But when you start to control your presence, when you decide when to show up and when to disappear, you shift the dynamic. Suddenly, you become rare, and rarity brings value. When your presence becomes rare, it becomes powerful. Your words land heavier. Your actions carry more weight. People start to fear wasting your time. This is not manipulation, it's strategy. This is how you protect the most valuable resource you have: your time, your energy, your emotional bandwidth. These are not donations, they are investments. And not everyone deserves to earn them. The key is to be selective. Not everyone gets a reply. Not everyone gets an explanation. Not everyone deserves your time. The more you challenge people's assumptions about your availability, the more they will start to respect your presence. Machiavelli would call this calculated absence. It's not about being cold or distant for the sake of it. It's about protecting your value, your presence, your energy, your mind, by making sure that when you show up, it's on your terms and for a reason that serves you. The Machiavellian code: power, silence, and strategic presence. What you've just learned is not a self-help lesson. It's a life-changing shift. This is the Machiavellian code: power, silence, and strategic presence. Machiavelli didn't teach us to be liked. He didn't promise peace or comfort. He promised control. He taught us how to play the game of power, and the first step is withdrawal. When you stop explaining yourself, when you stop justifying your actions, you take back control over your life. You stop being a servant to others' expectations. You stop living for their approval, their validation, and you start living for yourself. You become unpredictable, unreadable, uncontrollable. And in that unpredictability, you become a force to be reckoned with. No longer do you react. No longer do you bend to the will of others. You calculate. You conserve. You rise. When you no longer react to every provocation, when you no longer need to explain yourself, you begin to change the way the world sees you. You stop being a convenience, a filler in someone else's life. You become the ruler of your own narrative, and that is when the world takes notice. So, the next time you feel pressured to explain, to justify, to over-explain, ask yourself, is this person earning my time, my energy, my presence? Or are they just expecting it? You don't need to explain. You need to command. From this moment forward, you will no longer be at the mercy of others' expectations. You will no longer feel the need to explain yourself, to justify your choices, or to be liked by everyone around you. You will rise above the noise, because as Machiavelli knew, power is not granted, it is taken. And the first step in taking your power is to withdraw. Create distance, and in that distance, you will discover your strength. Your presence will become rare. Your silence will become a weapon. And when you choose to speak, it will be with the weight of someone who no longer chases respect, but commands it. So, ask yourself, what do you want your life to look like? A life dictated by others, by their expectations, by their demands? Or a life that you command, where your presence is valued, where your silence speaks louder than words, and where no one and nothing can hurt you anymore? It's time to make your choice.